The first time I saw my ex's mother after 3 years, she looked nothing like the elegant woman who had once treated me like family. Her silver blonde hair was perfectly styled, her black evening dress made her look graceful as always, yet her trembling hands betrayed a fear she desperately tried to hide. We stood beneath the warm afternoon sunlight streaming through the enormous glass ceiling of the city's charity art gala, surrounded by wealthy guests laughing over expensive champagne. Then, without warning, she stepped closer, leaned toward my ear, and whispered just 6 words that changed my life forever. "Take me somewhere private, please." Those words carried a quiet desperation I had never heard before, and in that single moment, every painful memory of losing the woman I once loved came rushing back. Before we continue, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance and that even broken hearts can heal, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that remind the world compassion still exists. My name is Adrian Mercer, and 3 years earlier I had been engaged to Serena Whitmore. Everyone believed our future was already written. She came from one of the wealthiest families in the state, while I was nothing more than a hardworking architect raised by my widowed grandfather. Money had never mattered to Serena or me until her father decided it should. He believed I lacked status, influence, and power. Slowly he poisoned her mind with doubts until our relationship collapsed under the weight of expectations neither of us had created. When Serena left, she cried harder than I did, but she still walked away. I never blamed her completely because I knew how overwhelming family pressure could become. Still, the heartbreak nearly destroyed me. I spent the following years rebuilding my life from the ground up. I buried myself in work, opened my own small architecture firm, and learned that healing doesn't happen because time passes. Healing happens because you choose every day not to let yesterday define tomorrow. By the time I attended the Whitmore Foundation charity gala that afternoon, I believed those painful chapters were finally behind me. I had accepted an invitation because my company had recently designed a community center for disadvantaged families, and the project had earned unexpected recognition. I planned to spend an hour shaking hands before quietly leaving. Instead, fate had other plans. As I followed Serena's mother, Vivian Hawthorne, through a quiet hallway leading toward the gallery offices, I noticed her repeatedly looking over her shoulder. She wasn't worried about gossip. She looked genuinely frightened. Once the door closed behind us, her composure disappeared. Her shoulders sagged as though she had been carrying an unbearable weight for months. She told me that she had made terrible mistakes. Years ago, she had remained silent while her husband destroyed my relationship with Serena. She admitted she knew I had loved her daughter sincerely but lacked the courage to oppose her controlling husband. Every day since then, regret had followed her like a shadow. But regret wasn't why she had asked for privacy. She revealed that her husband had become obsessed with protecting the family's fortune. His business empire, admired by the public, was quietly collapsing beneath enormous hidden debts caused by reckless investments. Rather than admitting failure, he had arranged Serena's engagement to the son of another billionaire family to secure financial rescue. Serena wasn't marrying for love. She was being traded like another corporate asset. Vivian had recently discovered documents exposing fraudulent financial schemes that could send several executives to prison. Her husband intended to destroy the evidence before investigators found it. She couldn't trust anyone inside the family anymore. Friends had become business partners. Relatives had become loyal to wealth instead of truth. The only person she believed would do the right thing was the man her family had once pushed away. At first, I couldn't understand why she had chosen me. I wasn't a lawyer, a detective, or a powerful businessman. I was simply someone who had loved her daughter once. Then Vivian answered the question before I even asked it. She said that true character only reveals itself after heartbreak. Most people become bitter. I had become kinder. Those words struck deeper than she could have imagined. For several minutes I simply stared through the office window toward the beautiful gardens outside. Children laughed in the distance where the foundation hosted a daytime family festival. It felt strange that so much darkness could exist beneath such a bright afternoon. Vivian handed me a small flash drive hidden inside an old silver pendant. She explained that if anything happened to her, the files would expose everything. Before I could respond, hurried footsteps echoed outside the office. She immediately wiped away her tears and regained the graceful expression everyone expected. When the door opened, Serena herself stood there. Time seemed to stop. She looked almost exactly as I remembered, except sadness had quietly replaced the joyful confidence that once lit her face. She froze upon seeing me standing beside her mother. Nobody spoke. The silence carried years of unanswered questions. Eventually Serena apologized, not with dramatic speeches but with quiet honesty. She admitted she had spent years convincing herself leaving me had been necessary. Yet every achievement afterward had felt strangely empty. Luxury vacations, designer homes, exclusive parties, none of them replaced peace. She confessed she had never stopped wondering what life might have been like if she had chosen love over approval. Before either of us could continue, loud applause erupted outside as the charity auction began. Vivian calmly asked us to return separately to avoid suspicion. The afternoon continued like nothing unusual had happened, but I could no longer enjoy the event. Every smile around me suddenly felt rehearsed. Every wealthy guest seemed to hide invisible burdens beneath polished appearances. That evening I carefully examined the files Vivian had entrusted to me. What I found shocked me. The documents proved millions of charitable dollars had been secretly diverted into failing private companies owned by influential investors. Families who believed they were donating to children's hospitals had unknowingly financed corporate losses instead. The evidence implicated several respected public figures. Suddenly I understood why Vivian had looked terrified. Over the following week I struggled with an impossible decision. Reporting everything would likely destroy Serena's family forever. Remaining silent would allow innocent people to continue suffering. Many nights I barely slept. I remembered my grandfather's favorite lesson. He used to say that doing the right thing rarely feels comfortable. If it feels easy, it probably isn't sacrifice. Eventually I contacted an independent investigative attorney anonymously. The evidence triggered a massive financial investigation. News spread quickly. Within days television stations covered the scandal. Executives resigned. Government investigators seized company records. Charities recovered stolen funds before they completely disappeared. The city watched another untouchable empire begin to collapse. Throughout the chaos I never revealed Vivian's involvement. She had already sacrificed enough. Weeks later I learned that Serena had cancelled her engagement despite enormous public embarrassment. She walked away from wealth that demanded she abandon herself. For the first time in years, she made a decision entirely on her own. Several months passed before we met again. Not at a glamorous ballroom. Not at a luxury estate. We met during the opening ceremony of the community center my company had designed. Children filled the playground. Families laughed together beneath bright blue skies. Volunteers painted murals celebrating hope, courage, and forgiveness. Serena arrived quietly carrying boxes of donated books. She had begun volunteering with several nonprofit organizations helping families affected by financial fraud. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was trying to become someone she could respect again. Watching her interact with children reminded me of the woman I had once fallen in love with. We talked for hours, not about broken engagements, not about betrayal, not about lost years. We talked about second chances, healing, purpose, and the strange way life sometimes circles back when people choose growth instead of resentment. Our relationship didn't magically restart. Trust isn't rebuilt in a single afternoon. It grows slowly through consistent actions. Over the following year we became friends first. We volunteered together. We worked on charity projects. We learned who we had become instead of trying to recreate who we used to be. One sunny spring afternoon, Vivian invited both of us to a small family picnic beside a peaceful lake. The woman who had once remained silent smiled with genuine relief as she watched people she loved finally finding peace instead of pretending everything was perfect. She quietly thanked me for listening that day at the gala when she whispered those unforgettable words. The truth was, I should have thanked her. Because her courage reminded me that forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It transforms the future. If she had remained silent, corruption would have continued. Serena would have entered a loveless marriage. Countless charitable families would have lost resources they desperately needed. One whisper had changed every life connected to it. Sometimes courage doesn't arrive with loud speeches or dramatic heroics. Sometimes courage is simply asking someone you once hurt to trust you one more time. And sometimes the greatest act of kindness isn't forgetting what happened. It's refusing to let pain have the final word. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who still believes in forgiveness, leave your thoughts below, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope, compassion, and second chances. Speech balloon special request. Before you go, comment below, kindness always finds a way. We'd love to know where you're watching from. As I watched children laughing beneath the warm afternoon sun, I realized something my grandfather had always known. Wealth can build beautiful buildings, but only kindness can rebuild broken hearts. And sometimes, the quietest whisper becomes the loudest turning point in someone's entire life.